Okay, okay. So you will tell me when to start and I can start it off.
Okay. Good morning, class.
Good morning.
So today in our session, we are privileged to have Mr. Steven that is going to take us through this session. He's going to be sharing with us about money. And then those who have some questions at the end of the session, kindly take note of them, and then you'll be able to ask. So, Mr. Steven, you are most welcome, and we are good to start.
Thank you, teacher Stephen. I am told that you also my namesake. Good morning, class. Thank you for inviting me to give this talk about money. I don't know why you chose me, but you must have had a reason. So today we are going to have a small presentation about money. I have a brief outline. Oh, I have forgotten to greet my son. Good morning, Jovan. Since I'm sure you are part of the class.
Good morning, Daddy.
Now, this is the outline of the presentation. We shall have a brief introduction. Then we have what we may call a brief definition of money. We look at value and uses of money. And we look at also management of money, which is on how to spend, the do's and the don'ts. We look at the advantages and disadvantages of money. And then we see the plans you can do to save money, how to invest. There is another one I have just added now on a small thing on money versus education. And then we conclude. Maybe I didn't introduce myself very well. I am Stephen Baryahirwa. I work for Uganda Bureau of Statistics, where I am the head of social surveys and censuses. But I happen to have some boys there in that school. So as a brief introduction, we all know that money is one of the most important reasons which divides society into different classes. You know, society is divided into different classes. You have classes which are affluent classes. For example, if you look at Uganda, you'll find there are classes of people who live in Muyenga. There are classes of people who live in Katanga near Makerere. There are classes of people who live out. All those are separated by money. Because of the amount of money that each class has, you find they have different communities where they reside. And it is just a commodity to be exchanged for purchases, but it goes much more. Money was created generally to be a medium of exchange of goods and services. You give somebody money, he gives you an item, or she gives you an item. So that's a brief introduction. Money is, as part of the definition, is an object that is generally accepted as a payment for goods and services, and also for repayment for debts in a given country. You know, some countries, especially some of us, our countries which are in the low or middle developed countries, we keep depending on debts. And you cannot have a debt unless it is computed to know you have been given this money, you have to pay this money. You have been given this much, you will have to pay this much. And we also know that money allows us to meet our basic needs. You need money to buy food. You need money for shelter. You need money to pay for health care. And you need money for education. When you go there, parents have to struggle to get fees that they pay for you, and you stay there. All of that is because of money. Now, the uses of money. The uses are classified in majorly 4 uses, which are termed as functions. Now, medium of exchange is what we have talked about. You know, you go to a supermarket, you say, give me a loaf of bread. In exchange, you must give money, which is maybe 5,000, 7,000, 3,000, depending on what you have picked. And before money came through, we used to have what we used to call barter. Barter trade. You give me a cock, I give you 3 bunches of matoke. You give me a hen, I give you this. That's what used to happen before money. But when money came, all that changed. You have to value the items that you are selling. Somebody gives you money and they take that item. Now, the next function is the unit of account. Now, the unit of account is used to measure the value of goods and services. Yeah? Money is used to determine the value of a service or a good. I can still use a supermarket. When you go to a supermarket, you will find a kilo of sugar like packed. And where it is packed, it will also be written maybe 5,000 what? It has been given that unit. Yeah. And also, point number 3, money is a store of value. How it becomes a store of value, some of us work for organizations or government or any other NGOs and what, at the end of the month, they give you a paycheck. That paycheck is equivalent to a certain amount of money, say 5 million, 3 million, 10 million, whatever. Now, that paycheck, you may not be wanting to spend it then. You put that paycheck in a what? In a bank. The bank will know that we have kept 5 million for Stephen. Okay? It stores that value. Now, when you want to spend, you will just be picking from that money, Now, the 4th function of money is, it is a standard of deferred payment. We have this deferred payment just because of the borrowing and the lending that we do. When somebody lends you money, he knows this person has given me 5,000. And I will have to pay back either 5,000 or 5,500, depending on what you have agreed. So money helps us to know what you have borrowed, what you have to pay back, and what you have lent, and what you have be able to receive. So those are the 4 main functions of money. Now, the other issue that you need to know is do's and don'ts of money, management or how to spend. Now, before you start managing your money, regardless of how much money you have, whether it is even you students who are in school, you need to have a budget. You need to create a budget. And you know, this term, my parents have given me 100,000 to spend the entire term. A term has these many days. The things I need to spend the money on are these. Every day or every week, I will have to spend this. So you have to come up with a budget. And you make sure you follow that budget. Even for us, I don't wake up any morning and I say, now I'm going to spend 5,000 or 5 million. You must have a budget and say, this month, I'll be able to do this. I'll get this. My salary is this. My allowances are this. I'll get this. If I have a business, for me, I have some business. I'll say my business, I'll get this much. I have tenants, this one will give me this much. So at the end of the month, I have an income which is equal to this much. So I should have a budget on how I'm going to spend that money to start with. And first of all, you are not supposed to make that budget restrictive. You understand what to restrict. Don't restrict items in that budget. You budget according to the money that you have. Now, there are times when you overspend. You get like an issue in a month. Say you didn't budget for a child falling sick, and in the middle of that month, where you made your budget, a child falls sick, and you end up overspending, you end up even borrowing. That does not mean that you should give up budgeting, that the budget is not helping you. You don't have to give up on budgeting. Even when you overspend, you stick back to your budget. the next month, over the next month, depending on how long, whether you make budget, weekly budgets, monthly budgets, you know better what you want to do. Anybody who has money should be able to determine. Now, you make sure, you should also make sure you have an emergency fund. What we mean by an emergency fund, like some of us who work, you have a salary account where your salary is put, and then you have another account. You can have another account where you keep other money, other small money, maybe your savings, your other things, you know, such that this account, you don't run to it anytime. You run to it in case of emergencies. I can give you an example of myself. I have a bank account in the Standard Chartered where my salary goes and other allowances and what have you, but I have another account in the Centenary Bank. That account is mainly for emergency. If I get some money, which I don't intend to spend, and it was not part of my anticipated, you know, and you say you have had meetings, you have got an allowance, they have given you 100,000, you have done what? I put it on that account. On that account in Centenary, which I don't go to. I can even take 2 months, 3 months, 4 months without going to that account. It is just for emergency. Now, another thing is that you have to track your expenses and avoid impulse spending. I think you understand about impulse spending. Impulse spending is like you can go to a supermarket and you have decided the things you are going to buy. Then all of a sudden, you see something which looks attractive, and you say, let me check, but do I still have money in my pocket? Can I also take this one? You should avoid that. Just if you see it and you think you plan for it and you say, next time, I think when I'm making my budget, I have to add A, B, C, D, and then I use it for, I buy it this month or this week or this one. Why you need to track your expenses? If you don't track your expenses, you will find you have gone overboard, you have gone beyond your limits. Then the other issue is you have to set realistic investment goals. We have a small presentation also on investment, but you know, if you work and you want to invest, maybe you want to put your money somewhere such that in the end you get returns, you look at something realistic. You don't think of investing in something which you don't have money for. You don't think when you're putting up a building that I will get tenants. If I put up this, I'll get 10 tenants and what? And your money, that money you have, can only afford to build a building which can get only 2 tenants. For you, you are thinking of getting one which can get you 10, where you will have even a problem starting. You just look at something which is real, which is within your means. If you are going to start planning for your money. Now, the other thing I thought we should also share is advantages and disadvantages of money. Advantages of money, it ensures people's freedom and autonomy. If you have money, you are free to do whatever you want to do, and autonomy, you know, I think you know what they mean by autonomy, being autonomous, being for yourself. You are not responsible for any, or nobody else is responsible for you. Because of your money, you are responsible for yourself, and you have the freedom to, you know. The other advantage is legal tender. Everywhere you put money, you go in the market, as long as it is not torn money or what, you buy vegetables, you give it to a woman, she will not refuse it. It is legal. It ensures your privacy, and it is inclusive. Everything you want will be got with money. It helps you track your expenses. It is fast. If I pay, I get my thing. I pay for a good, I get it immediately if it is where I am. If I pay online, it was automatically got from me, and because the other people, depending on what you have agreed, you just get it, and it is very secure. All money is secure. The other advantage is, which we talked about, in terms of what? It is the store of value. If you put your money in the bank, you know, I have my 5 million, I have my 10 million, it will either keep growing or I remain with my 5 million. Now, the biggest disadvantage of money is mainly the one, it does not remain constant. money does not remain constant. And I think some of you who watch TV every day or in the news, they tell us about how the economy is doing. They say a dollar was 3,750. Now it is 3,690. Eh? So it does not remain constant. It keeps changing depending on how the world is changing in terms of economic matters. And too much money in a country reduces its value. That's why we call that's what we call inflation. Inflation is increases in the price level of commodities. Price level, not necessarily prices, but price level. Price level is like if you look at a bunch of matoke last year was maybe 15,000. If you look at this year, and the same bunch of matoke is at 12,000. So the level of prices have now changed and it has gone down. So which means inflation, the inflation has reduced. Eh? And you know, the Bureau of Statistics is the one responsible for producing those figures of inflation on a monthly basis. And when the money is too little, it is what we call deflation. There is a fall in the price level. So that is the biggest disadvantage of money, is that the money does not remain constant. I can give an example of myself. I had my dollars, which I had earned. I kept them. Now when the time came for changing them, last week, I went to change on a Saturday. It was, in fact, I wanted to buy some computers for my boys. I went and exchanged it. Now, when I went back the next day, I found out the dollar had lost another 40 shillings. I said, I wish I had changed all of them. Now I changed the balance. Now, after 3 days, the dollar had now gained by another 50 shillings. You see, the price does not remain constant. And when you are not stable and you have some money which you must spend in a certain period, you may find yourself being caught in a trap. Saving money, I don't know how I'm doing in the time, but I think I'm going to go very fast now. Maybe I finish them. The principle of saving money is mainly to save 20% of your income. And your income, it can be your salary, can be your bonuses which you have earned, can be any amount of money that you have got in a what. Even you students, I keep insisting, you have some small money which we have given you. You can decide to save. You can time yourself and say, I save 20% or I save 10%, depending on the amount that you have. Such that at the end of the term, if you had 100,000 or 150,000, at the end of the term, you have 10,000 or you have 15,000. You say, I also got something. It can do something for you. Now, there are things you need to consider when you are saving. You need to know how much you save, how much to spend before you start saving. You must look at all your expenses. If you are making a budget, you include a line for saving. You must include it in yourself, and you find ways of, if you find you are saving little, you find ways of cutting your spending. And then you go and look at your financial priorities. What you put in your budget, are they supposed to be the same in every month? Or do I keep changing them? And another thing that helps in saving is making saving automatic. I will still give an example of myself. I earn a salary. At the end of the month, we have a circle. The office has a circle. But I said at the end of every month, be deducting 1 million from my salary and put it on our circle. 1 million every month, I don't even see it. When they are paying a paycheck, that money will automatically have been taken to our savings. So I have made it automatic. Others, you give a standing order. Since I have that other account, I can decide and say, be getting 300,000 from my salary and put it in the other account where I have put emergency money. So you make the savings automatic for you to be helped. Now, investing money, I can say I'm not doing very well with time. Investing money is where you put money to make sure you earn a profit or what after some time. So you decide on what is your investment. You decide what is your investment vehicle. How am I going to invest? Decide how much money you want to invest. And you first look at people who have invested there. What is the risk? For example, you build apartments, but when you see with time, you see tenants are going away, they are not paying me, they are doing, you know, what risks are involved. Before you go to invest, find out from people who have done that business. How are they doing? Consider the type of investor you want to be, build your portfolio. How am I going to do this, and you keep monitoring everything over time. Now, the other issue which I hadn't talked about is money versus education. We all know that we acquire knowledge through education. And without knowledge, we cannot decide how to utilize the money. Even if one had a huge amounts of money, without this knowledge of what to do with it, it will be of no use, of no value. I know others will say, without money, we are not going to get that education. But you look at two things two ways. Without two things two ways, you cannot get that. You will realize that people with education tend to get money, much more money than those without education, except for the old businesses where people didn't go to school and they pick from somewhere. But the most important point is to take is that education or knowledge is what decides most on how to use money. Now, in conclusion, I have a few points I'll put down. We know that money is very important for getting resources useful for living a good life. It is the commodity used as a means or a mode of exchange when in the consumption of a product or a service. Everyone needs it, but one has to strive hard to earn, save it, and grow forward with it. It can be cash, which is usually a note or a coin, or both that is now used as an exchange commodity. One must have enough to survive with access to basic resources like food, clean water, and shelter, and to have a better life with good health care, good schooling, and luxuries. One must possess a lot of it. I am sure you know, those of you who are in Taiba High School, you know the fees we pay. And you know that not everybody can go to that school. When you are lucky and your parents can pay that money, then you know, I should also not misuse this chance of being here. I should also struggle hard, to study hard, such as my parents don't regret why they brought me to Taiba instead of taking me to another school where they would be paying 500,000 a term or 1 million a term or 800,000 a term, because even those schools are there. So that's what I had prepared. I thank you very much for listening. Now I think we can entertain a few questions if you still have time for that.
Okay. So
can I stop sharing?
yes. Okay. We are going to have some questions. Yes, Hannah, you can come.
Good morning, Mr. Stephen.
Morning.
I have one inquiry about investments, and
About?
I have a question. Investments.
Yes.
How do you know that what you're going to put your money in is a good investment? Because you can, let me say, put money into starting, let me say, a Rolex stand, but like you can't be sure that that's going to get you enough profit. Like, how do you know that that's the right investment?
Thank you. That's what I said, that you know, you just don't rush on investing. You must make studies, what we call them, you know, you must make studies, and if you want to do a business, you see somebody who is in that business and ask them, how do you start? How did you start? How is this moving? How, you know, you must have stories of success stories in some investment for you to think of going into that line. You don't just wake up and say, since people say this, let me also just go and start selling this. No, you must do your research, and you know that this item I'm going into, or this business I want to go to, or this investment I want to make has made such and such a succeed.
Okay, thank you.
Any other?
Thank you, Mr. Stephen, for taking time off your busy schedule to come and talk to us. Jovan and the rest of the class are really happy that you talked to us about money, investment, and saving. Thank you once again.
Thank you. So Teacher Stephen, is that all? Okay, if there are no questions, I think you allow me to leave you and also start preparing. You know, we are going to disseminate the provisional census, the preliminary census results today, and the guest of honor is the president. So thank you for giving me time to talk to you. If you don't have any other questions, I am always available to respond to some of you. If you have any questions, Giovanni, take your studies very seriously. I wish you a good day, all of you.